What's up? Woo! It's the moment of truth right here, isn't it? This is what a lot of people been waiting for. What I had to say about this. The photograph you're looking at is the thumbnail, is a photograph you probably have seen nowhere. Al Heyman don't pose for photos. And buddy boy, that was an essential photo taken. And it's never been more prevalent than now. As Floyd Mayweather is suing Showtime and Stephen Espinoza, who was the president of Showtime at that time. But I would be remiss if I did not say these words that I need to say right now. I've gotten word that Floyd Mayweather is not suing Al Heyman. Al Heyman is named as the person that was ripping him off, but he's not suing Al. I'm like, huh? Hold up. You mean to tell me you are suing Showtime and Stephen Espinoza, but you're not suing Al Heyman? The guy you claimed ripped you off? Woo. Well, here's the thing. There's always the pictures you see and the pictures you don't see. When you're used to getting handed a check for your work, and that's what Floyd knew the majority of his life is, I'm going to go to work, and at the end of that job, I'm going to get handed a paycheck. And if that's the way he did things. For my work and my worth, I want that check. I need the bag. Now, Al Heyman is a businessman from Harvard. He's been in business and he's been doing tours, all the Frankie Beverly and Mays tours, those legends and concerts, Al Heyman Productions. He put all that together. So entertainment is what he knows and does for a living. So everybody knows Al was quite quietly a billionaire for a long time. He does not do interviews. He doesn't do anything. He got into the boxing business with Vernon Forrest, and Vernon was his first world champion. When Vernon passed away, that was when he spoke for the very first time. Now, y'all want to know how all this started? Well, let's just get to the gist of it. When Al Heyman came into the picture, this is when a lot of things started to change for Floyd Mayweather financially. Once he got with Al started guiding him to big money fights with like Oscar De La Hoya and all of this. He was putting him on a path to where he was going to get more money. And getting him away from Top Rank was the only way that was going to happen. So once he got to the position to buy out his contract from Bob Arum and start promoting his own fights and being his own promoter, and they used Golden Boy as the tool. Al Heyman partnered Floyd, and he wasn't. They weren't ready for Mayweather Promotions yet, so they used Golden Boy Promotions to start out their career. So it'll be under the umbrella of Golden Boy, and they didn't have any problems. None of the responsibilities that normally go along with a promotional company that fell on Oscar's lap. Then Richard Schaefer and Al Heyman was not working well with Oscar De La Hoya, and that was Oscar's guy. They had to part ways and go in a different trajectory, all due to the fact of the activities that was happening with Oscar De La Hoya. It was a bad time for everyone involved. When you are someone who understands what it's like to be in those rooms and be in those situations, then you understand the words that I'm saying right now. It's quite clear to all of us in the boxing world how this thing started. After winning two major fights against Ricky Hatton and Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather retired from boxing. And during that retirement, he was robbed of over $20 million from some scamming guy who came along and told him he could invest his money and he could make this kind of money for him. And the first time they did it, they made like 2 million and it was in Floyd's account. So Floyd approved for more money to go out. And then he wiped Floyd's bank account, like $20 million. So that was the time he was leaving out Heyman again, and he was going to sign with Don King. He went to Orlando, Florida, and he was staying in Orlando, and he's getting ready to, well, he about to sign a deal with Don King. Meanwhile, I was there when Floyd Mayweather signed his multi-fight deal with Showtime. That was the time was the largest boxing contract. He was in Detroit, Michigan. So the guy, believe me, they hunted this guy down. They almost got you in Canada too. Somebody almost spotted him in Canada. The hit was out for that dude who scammed the money and just disappeared. But they ended up giving him money, finding a way to get Floyd the richest contract in history. So he comes back to boxing. He fights Marquez. He gets paid handsomely for that. Then there's the Shane Mosley fight. Then there's the Cotto fight. And he fights Victor Ortiz. And all of these fights are going down, right? You got Victor Ortiz, Cotto, all of these things are going in this path so Floyd can fulfill his obligation of his contracts, but he's getting paid handsomely, like 30 million, 40 million a fight he's making, plus the back end money. Now, on top of this, Yes, that was the only time you were going to see it. On top of all of this, oh yeah, I'm giving you all the backstory to lead up to what's actually happening. So Floyd was like, "Man, I was never gonna leave out. I was using Dunn as the decoy. He was gonna give me 25 million right there on the spot." And I was like, "Man, I'm gonna get 25 million for my next fight." And he was gonna give me $100 million deal. So all of that was used as a, this is what I'm gonna do if y'all don't step it up. So they finally got the deal done. HBO didn't want Don King involved in boxing no more, especially on their platform. So they try to cut Don out as much as possible. Now, because of that fact, he said, Floyd can read. Stop, stop, Claude. Floyd can read. I don't know why people think he can't read. 50 Cent is good at manipulation. But we're going to get there, good people. We're going to get there. Just hold on. You're going to get the whole story here because a lot of these people don't know and they can't tell you. Well, see, that's the problem. When people don't know, they can't tell you. Now, here's the situation. Once Floyd and everybody else got involved and his contract was up, he was up for renegotiation. Showtime had just fired their new manager, their president of basketball, I mean, sports and entertainment. So now Showtime is in the mix for negotiations with HBO reluctant to give Floyd $120 million for his career and the fight earnings and all of that. So all the negotiations now is going crazy. And it's like Floyd might sign with Showtime. So the first thing Al Heyman did was get Stephen Espinoza, who used to work for Golden Boy Promotions. You get it? Golden Boy used to work and used to be the main driving force behind Floyd Mayweather. That's the way it was. And it was no other way. So when it was Floyd Mayweather, it was Leonard Ellerby, who was his strength and conditioning coach, who ended up being his said unsaid manager, but L wasn't really a manager. He was more of just an in-between guy. And Richard Schaefer was a Swiss businessman. Like he was the man, the Swiss businessman that he got, who was smart, who Al Heyman was working, he was working with Al. They both understood business and numbers. So that's how they became a partner. But Oscar De La Hoya had Canelo, and Richard Espinoza, who was working for Golden Boy at the time, became president of Showtime. So Golden Boy, all of them, they're all brought on board. And Mayweather versus Canelo and all of these big mega fights is now going to be on Showtime. Canelo and everything else, the whole contract with Golden Boy is now with Showtime. They paid hundreds of millions of dollars to bring over Showtime. I mean, Golden Boy Promotions to Showtime. All their fights now are going to be on Showtime. HBO choose to stick with Top Rank Boxing and Manny Pacquiao. So now they lost the future star in Canelo Alvarez, and they lost Floyd Mayweather, who were the two top earners in the sport. And now they're going to fight each other in a mega pay per view. Canelo is up and coming. Floyd is already a giant. Now, this makes business sense for Showtime as they do this contract for 6 fights for Floyd. That's paying him almost he's gonna make billion by the time this is over. But on the scales of it, it's like a $200 million plus contract, but it's way more than that. Like almost 250 million on the base salaries and everything. But he's gonna make so much more. And he showed you he did on the back ends. So Stephen Espinoza, who I call him the Weasley person, steps up and takes the podium. So now this person is in charge of all of it. Stephen Espinoza is now the head honcho, but he was placed there as president as he was pretty much a minion for Al Haymon and Richard Schaefer. He was never in a position to be a president of sports entertainment. So Mayweather and them are basically running Showtime Sports, his whole team. Now they split after this fight with Oscar De La Hoya. And as they're moving towards down the road with Mayweather Promotions, they decided to split with Oscar De La Hoya as he sues Al Haymon and Richard Schaefer of trying to destroy his company and take all his fighters. Now, here's the thing Golden Boy Promotions never had black fighters. Let me repeat. They never had black fighters except for Shane Mosley and Bernard Hopkins. They all were Latino. That's all they wanted to promote. They didn't know how to market African American fighters. That's why the partnership with Mayweather and Al Haymon, they brought the black fighters into the mix so that it would be under the umbrella. You had the Latinos and you had the blacks. That partnership fell aside as Mayweather was instructed to grow a goatee too when he left HBO for rebranding himself. Smart idea too. So if you knew if Floyd was fighting without the mustache and the goatee, he definitely that wasn't recent Floyd. That was you're looking at something old and dated. So now Richard Schaefer is the one, and Al, who Floyd listens to. He really doesn't listen to L. L is like the middleman that handles the tedious deeds. He's a strength and conditioning coach. Oscar De La Hoya at this time was going through substance abuse. He's sleeping with strippers, doing cocaine every night, and he was doing it to this tour. He didn't even make it to the fight because he was gone and rushed back into rehab because photographs was taken of him, and they tried to extort him again as some girl who was asleep in the bed with him. Well, I wouldn't say they were sleeping, was using strap-ons on Oscar De La Hoya, and these pictures were all over the internet. They got him off, thank God. It was sent to my phone. It was the sickest thing I've ever seen. Oscar is letting this girl just go to town on him, and he's in some black chaps. Yeah, it was bad. So Oscar had to immediately get rushed into rehab. So he doesn't make it to Canelo's biggest moment, biggest fight. The guy that's promoting him has to ditch him the day before the fight. He doesn't show up to the weigh-in. He doesn't show. He's already in rehab. So if people wanted to know how crazy this thing became, it became even more massive. And let me call Sam right now. See if he can shine some light on this. Let me call Sam right now. See what we can get, if anything. Hey, Sam.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah. This kid, man, what's going on with this lawsuit, man, with Floyd and Showtime?
Floyd is crazy. Floyd must be broke. I don't know. Stupid. He's not broke. Must be broke. Must be broke. I don't think he's broke, but that's he must be delusional. I don't care. What's up?
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know he left. I thought y'all was still managing him.
No, since he been fighting them stupid fights with all them crazy people, Gotti and all that shit, all that kind of stuff. He fought Gotti twice, right?
Yeah.
And he fought somebody else, fought a Japanese boy over there. We'll do that kind of stuff. We do real fights. Last fight, he's going through some. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he got money or not. I don't care.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. So no, that's what I was checking, man, because I didn't know y'all had even a party for a minute.
Saying we want to go do something. All that shit.
Damn.
You know what? How many making money now? I must not be making no money on suit, small suit.
Yeah, because I'm like, when I see Al's name, I was like, what?
He didn't sue Al, but he sure don't know what he's doing. Just a dumb boxer. But I'm gonna call you back. I'm in the car. I'll call you back.
All right, go and do your thing. Damn. Damn. Now Sam is his guy. You know, like, this is what I'm saying. I was unaware that all these things had happened to the point where it got away from the whole crew. That's my man Vivek Wallace, our whole media crew. And these were better times. This is when better times were, having their day and having a say, right? Now, here's what everybody's telling me some I already know. He's like, AD just got traded to the Wizards. Yeah, that's where you go when you're on your way out. Everybody just hit me up about the trade. I'm like, the chat know, everybody know. They sent Russell there too. I'm telling you, this is a dump site, baby. That was just like, we need to dump out all these players we don't need. That just goes to show you that whole Luca trade, and everybody used to say Luca and AD, they about the same. You don't hear nothing from them people now. But let's not change channels. All right, let's stay right here. We're going to stay right here. So I was there. He signed the contract. He's doing all these fights. Golden Boy splits with Mayweather Promotions. Mayweather Promotions becomes its own thing outside of Golden Boy Promotions. So now, once that trade is solidified, once that trade is solidified, then you can get back there. So anyway, back to this. Mayweather gets traded. Mayweather gets traded. Mayweather is doing his own promotions. So now the big fights with Pacquiao, Mayweather, Conor McGregor, and all of these things, they're doing their own promotions now, and they're able to run it on their own. Richard Schaefer was caught for basically sabotaging the company, what they said, by not signing these guys to learn long-term deals, keeping them re-signed in only 1-year contracts, giving them the option to get out, which was not best for Golden Boy, but it was best for what they wanted to do, is to get away from Oscar De La Hoya, and there was not going to be a Golden Boy. because all the fighters wanted to leave after Oscar sabotaged it with his activities. So now they're going to start Mayweather Promotions and get away from Oscar. So now that they're getting away from Oscar, Oscar sues. So Richard Schaefer was found guilty and could not go with the rest of the team over there and join Mayweather Promotions. So he had to sit back and wait while everything else was going on. Now, what happens after this? Something very interesting. This was many years ago before the Conor fight. Floyd was tired. I mean, Al Heyman was tired of Floyd. Okay. Well, anyway, now Floyd Mayweather ends up retiring, right? After he beat Andre Berto. That was the end of his contract. He comes back for one big money fight with Conor McGregor that was supposed to net him multi-millions of dollars. Now, behind the scenes, there are things that were going on that you didn't know about because Floyd, had tax problems his whole life because he's a fighter. He hires everybody to do that. And Al Heyman is a tax man. He was helping Floyd Mayweather out of his situations. So when you help someone out of their situations, this becomes the reality in which you are engulfed in. And when you're brought up in these situations that don't, usually do well for you because you're abundantly thinking about yourself rather than the collective group and you're focused on being the best fighter in the world, you don't have time to be focused on taxes. But the government, this is what they count on to make their money. See, when Floyd right here is used to getting his check from Al Heyman, Al would give Floyd the check, and it was up to Floyd to do what he needed to do with it. Now, when he gave Floyd the check after the fight, every time right after the fight, Floyd would get a check from Al. And when he cut the check wasn't for what Floyd thought it was going to be. Now, the big money always come on the back end, but this is your initial upfront payment check. And Floyd is shocked when Al Heyman gives him this check. I know you've never seen this photo. I know this. But here's the thing. Once Al Heyman gives him this check, let me tell you what happens next. Once Floyd is given that check, Floyd eyes light up, like in disbelief because his initial pay for this fight, this was the second rematch with Marcos Maidana. After the Maidana rematch fight, Floyd Mayweather is stunned because the payments are so low. He didn't get the initial upfront, like 36 million, almost 40 million for this fight up front. It was deducted because he had to pay his taxes. So the check was something really low, like about 16 million, maybe even less than 16 million. So his initial check is 16 million. He's got to pay his whole staff. Everybody got their checks like on Monday. And out of Floyd's check, you know, this is what he got. And it was not what he thought he was going to get. So it was bad. This was a bad fight, like results. They got killed. They got crushed on pay per view. This wasn't a big pay per view fight, but he made money off of it because it was a rematch, a back to back rematch. A lot of people wanted to see it, but not as much. It wasn't marketed that well, wasn't promoted that well. So that was the case. Now, because they did the fights back to back in short progressions, people, really didn't pay any attention to the rematch. And because they really didn't know Madonna that well. And we marketed here in Chicago. Like they came to Chicago, and that's when I got a chance to interview Madonna and I interviewed Mayweather. Of course, I was VIP. I'm on stage with Floyd, the whole thing. So I'm part of the media and I'm part of Team Mayweather. So it was good times during that time. But this photograph is giving you an example of what happens. Al handles the paperwork. Floyd just receives the check. So he said that Al stole 350, 40 million, had money siphoned to him, and they don't have any records of what happened. So it brings us all up to speed, as you just heard from Sam Watson, who was telling you, man, Floyd has gone crazy. He hasn't worked with Floyd no more. Floyd like parted ways with them and don't really work with them anymore. And I was unaware of that. I thought he was still, in good relations with the Watson family. So, well, yesterday it was filed accusing Showtime Entertainment and participation in years long schemes of financial manipulation and self dealing. That's what they call it, by his ex advisor, Al Haymon, who intended to steal vast sums of money from him. And he wanted to funnel fight revenues into secret accounts that Floyd didn't control. He seeks to at least 340 million under claims that he related to breach of fiduciary duties and fraud. Now, he's charging Showtime with that and not his advisor, which roughly Floyd earned about 1.2 billion in his career earnings across his fights, not predominantly with Showtime, but he got guaranteed purses of sometimes $100 million, like he did with Conor McGregor and Manny Pacquiao, not including his share of enormous profits from the record shattering events, which is going to be way more. So he's made flashy, different showings of his wealth. He's posting photos with stacks of cash. 2013, he left HBO to sign an exclusive deal. I just told you about that with Showtime. And under that agreement, he had the richest fights in boxing history at the time. And instead of paying him directly, Mayweather says Showtime wired his share of fight proceeds to an account controlled by his tax lawyer, who was Al Haymon. He faults the network for the theft and say the money and was left to Al Haymon. And when his new management team that he got now in 2024, they wanted to request details, breakdowns for all these fights. Showtime declined to produce them. And in the complaint, it later asserted that the statute of limitations and everything going on, saying that these claims related to 2015 are barred. Heyman told Mayweather that the records was lost due to a flood in a storage facility. And Mayweather argued that Showtime should have been aware of the theft because Heyman, who was not named in the complaint, was behaving like a typical manager. Under 2005 oral deal, Heyman agreed to act as Mayweather's advisor for a 10% fee. It expired a year later, though Haymon continued in that role for the next 15 years. He handled contract negotiations, television deals, sponsorships, investments for Floyd, and Mayweather points to the banking records to show large transfers to companies controlled by Al Haymon were falsely labeled as repayment or loan payoffs. Tens of millions of dollars, he says, were moved to Al Haymon's development shortly after major fights. Other records show numerous one off payments. These include payments transactions for as much as 15 million on dates unrelated to any fight, with memos like expenses accompanying many of them to hide the stolen funds. Haymon showed Floyd certain documents to keep the boxer from learning the exact sums earned from fights, according to the complaint. On one occasion, the manager altered the date of the contract to misrepresent when it was signed. Another issue said discrepancies in financial documents allegedly showing inflated expenses and reimbursements charged against the Pacquiao fight, whose funds were used for a $20 million reimbursement for the 2015 Andre Berto fight. These charges, Mayweather says, amplified that the Pacquiao revenue pool was used as slush money fund to pay unrelated costs, like the Berto payout. Now, Showtime didn't respond to anything for a comment. So, if this is true, if Mayweather's team and his new team has figured all of this out, this is going to open up a lot of doors for corruption, because Al Haymon used a lot of trust fund money to get a lot of these deals going. Let me see if I could reach someone else. Well, I can't reach them right now. So, and this is probably why Showtime Sports eventually closed down its doors. It got out of the boxing business. Once Floyd left, there was no more business. The TikTok Skittles, man, off of the 76. You knew Philly wasn't going for him being on the team. T, that's why I told you, join my Patreon. We got free memberships over there too. If you was on the Patreon, you would have got the memo about the stream last night. We got free memberships and paid memberships. I say it all the time. When I'm telling people to join the Patreon, I'm trying to tell them it's for y'all benefit. You used to be over there before. I remember I seen you like when I first got Patreon. Oh, but don't worry, we will be live for the Knicks and Pistons. Oh, you can count on that. You can count on that. Well, you need to tell YouTube they need to send out the notifications and stop messing with people's that's trying to get in the stream. So he's not suing Al Haymon. Let's get that corrected. He's not suing Al Haymon. He's suing Stephen Espinoza and Showtime. Now, here's the thing. Al Haymon you're not going to get a dime out of Al. So you're going to have to sue Showtime and Stephen Espinoza. Even though you claiming Al did all the criminal things, if the paperwork show that this is your manager and we paid him what he did with the money, I don't know if Floyd can win that case at all. I don't know if Floyd can win this case. Seriously, I really have. This is a hard thing for him to do. Is to be able to say, we did all of this, and Al is the guy that, got us all messed up. Now, there's a part about this story you don't know, and that's the 50 Cent part of this story. And the 50 Cent part of this story will be on the Patreon, because that's where the meat and grime, and that's how the beef started with Floyd and 50. Floyd Mayweather and 50 Cent beef started because of this whole situation with Al. That was left out so that we can discuss this version on the Patreon. Because I'll tell you all about it. He's like, here you go. I'm glad I'm on Patreon. I know that's why you gotta have a Patreon. So anyway, thanks for everybody here that became a member, signed up. Oh, we're gonna get into what happened. So I'll see y'all over there at the Patreon. It's your boy Carcito. I'm out. Once again, thanking you. And it's Pistons all day long, buddy.